Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we're going to be talking about the Reaper gunpowder runs, how they compare to the Mercenary mission that we had 5 years ago, as well as just a reminder on some of the stuff that's going on in Sea of Thieves this month. So with all that said, let's get into it. But before I get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They are the ones that are helping support get this content to you and help upgrade my system. I just used some of the Patreon funds this month to get some new lights. These are newer lights that I found for, I think, $35. And I was able to get a pair of them with stands, and it's doing really well. I really am happy with them. I did a lot of research because I've been looking for better alternatives to Elgato's products. And as part of that, not only did the Patreons help get a new mic arm, but they also helped me get new lights so I feel comfortable streaming. The next on the docket is more of a prompter, so I can do better reviews and videos on YouTube as well. So fingers crossed that's helping out beyond just what I use for like things like rent. Not gonna lie. So thank you to the patrons who are helping support this content. I like to shout them out, and if you guys want to be on that list, you can always, it's always open to anyone. Head over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast. You get your own channel at the captain tier. You also get access to the end of the month episodes, which is coming up. Actually, before I say anything, when is our next one coming up? Because that is the 25th of September. That's going to be at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. British time, and I think like 5 a.m. for Regis, because he's always here. I definitely want to talk about player housing, which I'm going to be talking more about this episode. Also want to talk about Mercenary Voyages, where Rare's at with their content, and what else has been going on with them, like Grogmanet and stuff like that. So remember, 25th of January, make sure you guys are making time for that. That's this coming Saturday. We're having another community episode, so keep an eye out for that. But before I go any further, we have to thank the patrons. So thank you to A-Chick, L-Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Neuf, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davrum TV, El Jefe Esteban, Godhammer 6, Jorby Jorbs, Carl Embo, Kylea the Aficionado, Mr. Blizzard, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Mutinous Max, Norwegian, Regis Stella the Brony Pirate, Ribloid, Rustbelt Kid, Skamelt 666, Tommy D, TN Professor, Vibralux, Wailing Witch, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, The Lore Chronologist, Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H, Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha. Actually, I didn't like how that came out. Evil Martha. There we go. Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore, the Insipid Ghost, and Zam. Wow. Thank you all so much for your love, your support, your conversations, and your company. It means the world to me that you guys do this. So thank you. If not for you, I probably would not be doing this podcast. So with that, let's get into it. All right, pirates. Well, let's get into the first topic of the day. Duke has brought us another voyage, and wait, what? He's what? What do you mean he's not? Oh, that's right. Okay. Boy, that's Duke is not bringing us any voyages anymore. It's 2025, but we're still remembering Duke in positive ways. And the best way to do that is to remember the voyages that he brought for us. And in this case, it's going to be the Reaper's gunpowder runs. We're doing the Reaper's gunpowder runs. We're doing Mercenary Voyages. That's what it's about. If you guys don't know, if you haven't been around long enough, then let me give you a little bit of an explanation. So back in 2019, when we just come off the first year of Sea of Thieves, we had some excellent voyages that came in that were mercenary voyages, and they came with their own ship set. It was Scorpion themed, and it was really cool. Kind of reminded me of like a pizza box, to be honest, but with a scorpion on the front of it. I don't know why that's the case. That's just what it does. I don't know. Next time you look at it, maybe it's the colors. Maybe it's the white red and green. Reminds me of like an Italian pizza company. I don't know. These are the associations brains make sometimes, but regardless, we had a mercenary figurehead and cosmetics that went along with the black powder stashes Voyage. This was something that was brought to us by Duke, and these were something that we'd go out and we would actually have to go to different islands to dig up these gunpowder kegs and deliver them. There was actually one that came out at one point that actually had us going from the four what's it called? Skeleton forts that are currently in this current 2025 run version of it, but in the opposite direction. So the Reaper black powder runs to the west would have you start out with Sharkfin Camp, go to Kraken Watchtower, go to Hidden Springs Keep, and then to Sailor's Knot Stronghold. In this one, funny enough, it's actually the other way around. It actually goes into Sailor's Knot Stronghold, to Hidden Springs Keep, to Kraken Watchtower, to Skull Keep, or is it Sharkfin Camp? Now I'm blanking. But we're being tasked once again to go out and actually head to skeleton forts to dig up kegs. There's more than just the kegs. There's mega kegs. There's Athena kegs. There's skulls. There's fireball crates. There's rage chests. All number of different types of little like flamey kaboom items that are being put into this voyage. And when you even do the limited run voyage, it even tells you that it's a mercenary voyage. I don't know why these are something that is so underutilized. It is interesting that they're bringing them back, especially because originally you had to fly the Reaper's Mark with these kegs aboard. Nowadays, it's just the Reaper Emissary, which is totally just kind of... it's just if you want the extra money or not. And they added one little bit to it. Before, back in the day, we didn't have the Fort of the Damned. We had Old Boot Fort, which is the one that's just next to Crook's Hollow. Now that we have Fort of the Damned, they're sending us to Fort of the Damned for the final chapter in this. And then we have to go and turn everything in to Reapers. So we didn't have Reapers back then. Or no, we did. But yeah, it wasn't as built up as it. I'm sorry. We had Reapers, but we didn't have the full fort kind of ship thing that we did. We just had Wanda, and she was just chilling over there. In fact, we had Wanda for quite a while. In fact, for a long time, she just had a table, and the table was okay. You know, they were digging over there. The table was fine. You know, you put your gifts over there and hopefully someone would find them and then turn them in. Most of the time they would ignore them. Nobody ever went over there. Now Reapers is like way bigger than it used to be. And Flameheart's a thing now too. You know, we didn't have Flameheart back then. Flameheart was a thought. It was a wondrous thought that we had because we hadn't had Seabound Soul yet. But needless to say, the Reaper black powder stashes or runs had you going from fort to fort to fort to fort to fort, picking up kegs, which sounds like something that you'd hear from like an enemy in Halo. But trust me, running from fort to fort to fort to fort to fort was just what you did. And now that this is back, it's a little interesting because now they aren't forcing you to fly with the Reaper's Mark flag. The Reaper Emissary is optional. You'll get more money if you use it though. And there's no cosmetics or doubloons tied to this. In fact, there's no commendations at all tied to this, which all in all, I mean, is understandable to some extent. They don't have to, you know, there's nothing that says that they have to put cosmetics out there. But it is interesting that we have the event coming in. It's only for a weekend where typically they used to be for a while, like a week or two. I think this one, looking at like the fandom, it looks like this one ran from the 17th of July to August 14th, 2019. So quite a while for you to be able to go out and actually get this done. This is just a weekend, and it's just for golden reputation, which to me feels like a difference, a different way of going about like the bonus weekends for golden reputation. Like instead of a golden glory, they are telling you go engage with reapers tied to kegs, and we'll give you a bonus on gold and reputation that you complete for each of those. And the world itself, for all intents and purposes, it's still the same. There's nothing that's really changed. There was there was a small period of time where Rare was ordered to close down the Hunter's Call portions of the outposts, but after about 14 hours, they got word from Flameheart that there wouldn't be any penalties or fees associated with having those installments replaced. So at least for the next 90 days, we're going to be able to have the Hunter's Call sections of the outposts replaced. So thank you to Captain Flameheart for that. Very appreciative. I know a lot of people didn't know what to do during those 14 hours that the Hunter's Call installments were shut down. A lot of us were just kind of looking at it and wondering, like, you know, if they were ever going to come back, what were we going to do? How were we going to fish? Would we even sail anymore? Could we even sail the Seven Seas or the Sea of Thieves? You know, it's a lot of things happened during that 14 hours. And I think a lot of us grew. You know, some of us went to other trading companies and tried out some of that stuff, like Merchant got a little bit of extra. A lot of red snakes picked up as a result of that. And, you know, it's nice that it's at least back for now. We'll have to see how it goes. But for all intents and purposes, the world didn't really change or get affected by these mercenary missions being added to the game. And that is, I guess, kind of one of those things that kind of harkens back to that's kind of a bummer, because it feels like an opportunity. Like, we haven't had any Twitch drops recently. No Golden Glory weekends, aside from all the stuff that we had at the end of December. And we're kind of looking towards this update coming on the 23rd to see what is going to be coming. You know, right now, as far as we know, we get a little bit more of the lucky handset, and that's about it. There's a free emote that's coming, but we really don't know a whole lot about what's going to be in this update, if there's going to be much at all. For all we know, this is just going to be the login bonus for the Voyage of Luck, the extra bit of golden doubloons, and that's about it. So to kind of speak to these mercenary missions, or the Reaper's gunpowder runs, I like that they're doing something for the weekend, to give you something to do. And they did have quite a bit that you could actually do for this. And there was even like a little bit of a bonus that went into completing them all. So like if you had gone and opened up the door to the Fort of the Damned, that would grant you credit for that. If you had killed gunpowder skeletons or keg skellies or killed them, I think it was with like a black powder keg or black powder blow dart, then you'd get, like, you had to kill 50 of them. You'd be able to get like a bit more reputation and gold from that. Likewise, if you had taken the burning blade, like, you would get more gold and reputation. So they had all of these little things that are tasks that you could go out and do in the world that were tied to being able to complete these voyages. You know, it would be easier to do if you did them while you were running some of these the limited time voyages. So with that in mind, yes, this was a good way to set up a weekend that drove home the focus on one trading company, which is something I've been talking about for a while. If you guys have been listening to the show for a while, you know, I've been trying to say, like, hey, we need to have weeks where there is a focus on one trading company. And I say week because there's 4 weeks in a month, 6 weeks in like half of a season, where you could do all of the 6, like Hunter's Call, Merchant Alliance, Athena's Fortune, Reapers, Gold Hoarders. I feel like I'm missing one. There's the original 3, Reapers, Athena's, and Hunter's Call. Okay, yeah. There we go. You could have 1 per week, 2 sets per season for a total of 3 months. And that would give you something to look forward to every single week, whether it be a focus, because each month you have ledgers to work on. Now, if you're done with your ledgers, then you have nothing to worry about. But at least, like during the season, there's going to be at least 2 weeks out of that season where if you're behind on ledgers, you're going to have an entire week where you get bonus on that. And I think that would help. So when I look at the Reaper gunpowder runs, and I look at the fact that the goal of these is just to give you incentive to actually go out and do something in particular. And whether it be opening the vault on the Fort of the Damned, deliver kegs of ancient black powder to the Reaper's bones, or killing skeletons with gunpowder barrels or black powder dart explosives while flying the Reaper's flag emissary to achieve the goal 50 times. It's all in service to giving you something to do this weekend that will give you a little bit more of a bonus than you would typically get if it was just a blank weekend. And that right there is a positive. It's definitely worth it. But I do see a lot of the complaints, especially when you understand that this is a reverse Reaper's black powder runs to the west Voyage for the Mercenaries, which never ended up actually being a thing. It never ended up being like a faction. Like mercenaries were never a faction, and I think that they ought to have been. But you used to get these from Duke. They used to cost 10 doubloons. And doubloons used to be an interesting currency because at least back in the day, and I hate to say that because I feel like that's such a I did it differently back in the day. Back in the day, commendations were how you got doubloons, and doubloons were very rare. And a lot of people would hold off on spending doubloons because you only got them whenever there was an update, whenever there was one of these bilge rat adventures, one of these mercenary missions, things like that would drive you to go and actually do them, like the Festival of the Damned or Forsaken Shores or Cursed Sails or Cursed Crews or Gunpowder Skeletons or Skeleton Thrones or the Sunken Curse or Shrouded Spoils or Hungering Deep or the Fort of the Damned. And the mercenary voyages had their own little section, and there was a lot in there, and they were all really good. Not all of them. Granted, many people would probably look at the rag and bone crates and probably, raise their nose to them, be like, I didn't like the rag and bone crates. Well, that's fair. Somebody did, though. But we had stuff like that. And it's much more interesting to me to look at some of these and think like, oh, we had Black Powder Smuggler of the Devil's Roar. You uncovered stashes of gunpowder in the Devil's Roar, which sounds like a terrible idea. Yes, it does. But we did it. And I wonder if these mercenary voyages are tied to these commendations. Like, are they things that you can now earn commendations off of to earn some of those doubloons? But because doubloons are now just a currency that's accessible in a very easy manner, and they're no longer tied to any of the time limited commendations around events, then it feels less special, because we used to use those doubloons to buy voyages or to buy currency or to buy levels or to buy cosmetics. They had a form and a function, whereas now they're just for certain things, and those things are a lot easier to get, and everyone seems to have a ton of doubloons nowadays. So the solution here is not to wipe out doubloons or get rid of them. The solution here is not to introduce a new currency. The solution here is very similar to what we currently have in the game that's tied to ship cosmetics. Because at the end of the day, the mercenary missions were a thing that we did because we wanted cosmetics. We wanted the one thing that truly matters in the Sea of Thieves. It is not about the golden glory. It is about the commendations and not commercialism, not corporate nature, not capitalism, it was the cosmetics. It was about the cosmetics, not cosmopolitans either. It was about the cosmetics. The commendations and the cosmetics are what push this game for people. Most people do know about stuff. Some people care, some people don't, but a lot of people want to have stuff for their ship. And some people want to have for your pirate. And most of us want a little of both. So not having any cosmetics tied to this particular run feels like an opportunity missed. And in a time right now where Rare is saying that they are going to be focusing less on doing big updates to the game to change the sandbox or to introduce new lore or adventures or tall tales or anything except balance and support and reinforce the foundation of the game, we miss out on things like Grogmanay. We miss out on events that offer cosmetics. We don't have any Twitch drops running right now. I can't remember the last time we actually had some Twitch drops running. I could probably actually find out now that I'm taking a look at this. Let me take a look, because they're usually like, there's an official channel that I have in the Discord that lets me know when we're going to be doing stuff. So January 6th was the last Golden Glory. When was the last Twitch drops? We had the weird Festival of Giving stream team thing, which I really didn't like, about giving away the Phoenix, the Gilded Phoenix ship crest. That was really not a really well planned idea, in my opinion. The support a streamer thing came out back at the beginning of December. That was really good. I'm trying to find where the heck the last Twitch. Yeah. Okay. So we had the Obsidian Captain's Chandelier Twitch drop at the end of November, and let's see, Twitch drops for season 14 community weekend are now live. That was okay. So November 25th, it was the last time that we had Twitch drops, technically. So it's been a hot minute based on the official announcements since we had Twitch drops, and all of that to say that it feels like everything has shut down. When Rare said that we're going to have teams pull back on features, it felt like they just turned off everything. And what we're getting now is when that happens, when you go into like maintenance mode on a game, there's no more development, and they're just like, all right, well, whatever we have that we've already done, we'll just put that out, and then we'll cycle it into the regularly scheduled programming for Sea of Thieves, you know. And if you want to go to if you want to go to channel 4, which I think was UPN back in the day when that was a thing, shout out to Voyager, we would go and do Mercenary voyages. And then when that gets boring, we'll change it to channel 15 and watch, you know, some build rat adventures. And that's kind of where we're at, is we've got our syndicated voyages and events, and those are coming on a regular click during the season, and we play through those, and we don't necessarily worry about any new cosmetics, because all of that is just on maintenance mode right now. And Sea of Thieves will get there. Sea of Thieves at some point is actually going to get into maintenance mode, where they just maintain it, and whatever is hot and fresh out of the oven from Rare is what everyone's going to be diving into. And those of us that are stuck here in the Sea of Thieves and can't find our way out of the shroud, we're just going to keep playing. And we're just going to keep raising anchor every single day. We jump on the Sea of Thieves and enjoy the experience that we have, happy to continue without necessarily working on anything new that comes to the game. We'll be content and still hunting that Shrouded Ghost. The Shrouded Ghost will be our mount runs for World of Warcraft. And that's fine, because eventually that's what it's going to come to. And I think that the sooner that the community kind of realizes, like, this is inevitability. Like, Sea of Thieves has been running for a while, but there is a lot that is happening with this game. And we know that they want to do right by the community. We know that they want to build the game in a more stable fashion and have it feel better. But we're still running into some issues where just the content cadence is still struggling after this long. So I don't know if this is ever a thing that Rare will get their feet under. Like, I don't know if they're ever going to have like a time where it's like, oh, they're putting stuff out on a regular click. They have been doing, I will give them credit. They have been doing a really good job at managing the seasons. Each season comes out, there is a season pass, there is a plunder pass, and the content lasts 3 weeks. Whatever it is, they have a new season ready to launch. They may not necessarily have stuff come in that season at a timely launch or in a good state, but at least we're at the point now where seasons are transitioning in a 3-month time span. And that says a lot about the studio as far as like them being able to get that under wraps. Because, you know, if you look at the history, like, we've had some pretty long seasons in the past, some seasons that really honestly should never have been seasons. They should have decoupled the content and allowed people to shift over to a new season without feeling like they are being deprived of something new to grind, all because of, captaincy or, what have you, Monkey Island, So at the moment, it's interesting to look at these gunpowder runs, recognizing them for what they are and acknowledging this is probably how Sea of Thieves is going to be for a bit. I don't know if this is the end game for them. I have seen online that Mike says that they still have a lot of plans. And as much as I love Mike to death, and I think he's an amazing guy, I look at that as a hope. I don't necessarily look at that as a promise. I hope that there's more stuff coming. I'm not expecting him to promise that more stuff is coming. Obviously, they're a dev studio. They're going to be working on this. But this doesn't discredit the fact that they have been working on content for a while, and Hunter's Call is going to be the last faction that they have not updated. It came out in 2019, haven't touched it since. Well, they've touched it a little bit, but not like a ton, It didn't get the refresh the way the other trade companies did when they increased the ability to kind of like get your rings, get your I just blinked on what these things are called. What the heck are these things called? You keep trying to think of what they're called. Anyway, you know what it is, where you kind of like prestige. I always call it prestige. I think they call it something else. Promotion. Yeah, when you get your next promotion in a trade company, you like Hunter's Call was the last to do that. You could do all of them except for Hunter's Call. And this is going to be the last faction. So unless we get a new faction, all of the factions will have been addressed. And that to me says that Rare is ready to move on to the next big thing. And I don't know what that next big thing is outside of, well, okay. I think the next big things are going to be twofold. One, they're going to be bringing AI companions for crews or for people that want to sail on bigger crews but don't have actual people to be with them, or somebody drops, a pirate will appear and help you on your ship. Maybe not necessarily doing all the things, but they learned that Jack Sparrow from the Pirate's Life Tall Tales was a great addition to the AI opportunities for the game. Having an artificial intelligent crew member to help fire cannons, to help repair, to help put out fire, or whatever, what have you. They took that, they brought it over to Captain Flameheart and the Burning Blade. That has been a really good system. So it is only a matter of time before they put tools into place that will help ensure that if pirates don't have someone to sail with, and the reason I'm saying that is because all games decline with player base after a certain point. They hit something where they lose players, and it is no longer easy to jump in and find someone. At some point, you have to put in a system in place to help collect different groups of people together to kind of like smush them all together so that there's a smaller wait time for people to join up if you're searching for open crew. And I think what's going to happen here is that Rare is going to implement their AI companion system into Sea of Thieves. And that way, if you don't want to sail a sloop solo, or, if you don't want to sail a sloop or any ship solo, you can opt to hire some mercenaries that will join you on your ship, that will help you do voyages, that will go on land and fight with you. That will go and try and help point out where things are. We already know that the ancients are AI. They fight reapers and skeletons on islands for us during the Veil Voyage. The tech is already built into the game. I just think it's a matter of time before Rare figures out a way, lore-wise, to justify having pirates show up who are not actual people. And that is going to be one of the main things that I think they're looking at this year. The other thing is one that is tied to lore, and that's going to be in the form of Captain. We don't know who Captain is, but I did watch, well, I already have my theories that it's Captain Hook, but I don't know if that's going to play out. And if it doesn't play out, there's got to be a backup. And I think the backup may be hinted at for those of us who are Nintendo fans and may have watched Captain Falcore's latest video. If you've watched Captain Falcore's latest video, he had a really nice video that I really appreciate. Catchy tune too. Gotta say, really surprised. Catchy tune that talked about player housing and the idea of using the Sea of the Damned as a way to create player housing based off of memories that we could then use to decorate and congregate with other people and to dynamically change our ship types, not tights. Ships don't wear tights. Peter Pan does. But I think having a way to be able to dynamically change ship types and to go and actually hire AI pirates for a change in ship type is something that could come to the game. It is definitely plausible that they could use the Sea of the Damned and the portals, which are definitely not used nowadays, to be able to take you to your house, your home, your player housing in Sea of Thieves, where you could change your ship type, you could keep the emissary flag, you could keep the supplies that you've earned. People could log in and join your ship if they wanted to, but they could also join your house if they're waiting to get into a bigger crew. And you could go there and downsize if you wanted to, or just fill it up with mercenaries that are held up in the tavern nearby your house. And I think if they wanted to bring in the captain, one of the ways that they could do this is by affording us the opportunity to buy our own house. The captain lives outside the Sea of Thieves. And we don't know if he lives outside the Sea of Thieves or if he lives outside the Sea of Thieves and the Sea of the Damned, or necessarily what the story is. But like I said, for those of us who are fans of Animal Crossing, there is one pirate that is out there that is very happy to take our bells in exchange for service. And I'm talking about Captain Nook. And I think it would be interesting to see if the Switch 2 was powerful enough to be able to handle a lot of the games. And I do think that Sea of Thieves is coming to Switch 2, that there would be a tie-in. And if anyone could show us the rascally ways of being a robber and a thief, it would be the crook Captain Nook. So for those of you who know what the heck I'm talking about, thanks for paying attention. Thanks for caring. For those of you who have no clue what I'm talking about, I apologize, because this is the longest Animal Crossing joke I've ever tried to make in a Sea of Thieves podcast and probably will never make ever again. And this was my one opportunity. So if you have that time, if you have that opportunity, just remember, I did this for you. I did this because I wanted you to have a good laugh about this. But no, seriously, I do think that there are some good areas that Sea of Thieves could go in the future. What I definitely have concern for is that there's an entire team dedicated to finding resources to help stabilize the game and give them an opportunity to have more overhead when creating new stuff. I don't know that I need new stuff. I don't know that I need to have new tools in the sandbox. I think I just want cosmetics. Just give me a way to have cosmetics that come to the game, put that into a season that lasts more than a week, and allow for us to have a place to kind of like have a little more agency over our ship, as opposed to scuttling and going into a new server. I think the player housing would be an interesting idea. I don't know if it's warranted right now because it doesn't serve anyone except for the individual. But there's options there. There's ways to go about it that might actually expand the value of it. Now, if that's something that they want to throw in the Emporium, most of the cosmetics, all the good cosmetics are in the Emporium anyway. If that's how we keep the game funded, then that's how we keep the game funded. But I do think that there is a lot to be said about how Rare feels confident that they still have a lot to do with Sea of Thieves in a game that is bursting at the seams based on the terminology that they're using to describe how they are trying to be more efficient with their development. And I don't know if that's a time issue. I don't know if that's a skill issue. I don't know if it's a combination of time and skill. But I'm hopeful that when they have a good handle on things, that they can start to introduce features slowly that will help kind of round out some of the things that are concerns about the community long term. And I'm going to let you know, you should be open to the idea of an AI crewmate, because they've come a long way with combat. They've come a long way with the AI as far as like the ship maintenance. The only thing that skeletons can't really do is eyelids for one, but they can't bail. You know, if they could bail, then I think skeleton fleets would be completely a pain in the butt. But if they could do that, then at least they'd be able to be like full-fledged like help on a ship, and that way you could focus on what you like to do, which is like boarding or helming or cannoneering. If you don't like to build or repair, then at least the skeleton or the AI crewmate could help take care of those. And the way the system is designed, it's all the same actions that you would do are built into the AI. So when a skeleton eats, the skeleton is effectively pulling back on the joystick or pulling back on or pressing S as they back up, and then they pull out their food and then they eat it. Now they don't have an inventory like we do, but the action is still the same. Like when they fire, they still have to hold down the right trigger button or the left trigger button to aim, and then pull the trigger at a certain time frame. So all of that is all stuff that AI is designed to do at a base level to effectively hit the same gun like button presses that we do. So all this to say, really, I think it's a shame that pets aren't more utilized. Yeah. No, mercenary missions are interesting. I think they've done a good job with building them in the past. It's interesting to see them brought back with a little bit of a lack of fanfare, kind of saying like, hey, you know, we found these I don't know, they could have done a lot. They could have done a lot more for the marketing on these things. I think they really could have been like, hey, we found some old mercenary missions that were hanging out in the back where Duke used to stash a whole bunch of stuff. As a result, we are going to be releasing these for the time being so that pirates can have an opportunity to work on some of the commendations that they may not have since they weren't here during that time, and give them an opportunity to work on getting some of those locked doubloons. But overall, this is just a small drop in the bucket when it comes to the game health overall. I'm sure that we will probably see things change in the future, and we may actually see more of these mercenary voyages coming in the future as well too. So keep an eye out for those. It'll be interesting to see where we go. We have zero roadmap beyond season 15, and with that, there's a lot of opportunity for Rare to really kind of wow us. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to matter much if the game stability doesn't get fixed. That is absolutely paramount. It is the keystone in this arch for the community. All right, pirates, that's going to do it for this episode of the Keelhauled podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation, even if it is a little bit shorter, but when we get more content, we'll have more discussion. And if you guys have any discussion that you want me to talk about, feel free to let me know. You got the comments down in the YouTube channel. You've got the questions and feedback channel in the Discord. My social medias are there and available whenever I post these up there. Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are. If the patrons, they even have their own channel in the in outside of just like the Patreon. Like they get their own chat channel in Patreon. They get their comments on there. So plenty of ways you can get some ideas or some thoughts to me. If you see something that you think is cool and you want to talk about it, definitely feel free to let me know. Outside of that, pirates, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, just feel free to reach out about the game in general or the podcast in general. Definitely make sure you guys are keeping an eye on YouTube and Twitch, as I'm going to be putting out more content in those areas. I've started back up with streaming now that I got some nice lights. I feel like I can actually turn on the camera and not feel like I'm just like some weird stalker, it feels good. So I'm going to be looking to do more streaming as well. So thanks to the folks that have been dropping by as well too. We did some Sea of Thieves with Chenzo and Bonobo, and I'm blanking out on Chenzo's friend. He was with us. I think it was Perdilla. I can't quite remember. Sorry. But we had a really good time. We actually sailed over to a burning blade that a sloop was attacking, and we shot ourselves over right at the exact moment that the burning blade sunk. And 3 of us managed to get on board and vote onto the table and stole the burning blade from the sloop. The sloop just peaced out after that. They were like, nope, forget it, we're diving. And then we went over and started working on other stuff, and sure enough had a brig. They noped out on us as well too. They totally just left. So we ended up pushing, I think, 3 ships off of the servers, or the server that we were on, and another one just kind of disappeared. We're not quite sure what happened to that one, but yeah, it was pretty awesome. We had some really good group kind of like encounters with other ships, but most of them ended up running from us on the burning blade, which was, felt good. Feels good. I got a really good flame on one of them, so love when that stuff happens. But yeah, hope you guys are having a good time out there. Make sure that you're sailing with folks. There's new folks coming into the Discord on the regular, so make sure if you are looking for crewmates that you're using that looking for pirate crew chat channel. Definitely want to make sure that folks are finding people to sail around with, and some new folks and whatnot. So get to meet some new people and see how things are going with there. Outside of that, pirates, I think that's going to do it. So thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.